Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a revolutionary idea from the 1980s that could solve one of our biggest modern problems: how to make our digital money as private as cash. We're talking about something called blind signatures, a pretty amazing cryptographic key to truly untraceable payments.
All right, so let's just dive right in. We're going to start by looking at this fundamental conflict we all deal with every single day, probably without even thinking about it. And that's the trade-off between how easy it is to pay for stuff and how much of ourselves we give away when we do.
I mean, really think about that for a second. That last thing you bought online, the coffee you just tapped your phone for, all those monthly subscriptions, who actually knows you bought those things? Well, the answer is a lot of people. We're talking your bank, the credit card company, the store, and yeah, probably a few data brokers you've never even heard of.
So this really lays out the choice we're always given, right? On one side, you got your digital banking payments. Super convenient, super secure, but every single swipe, every click, it creates this data point, building this massive, detailed profile of your entire life. And on the other side, good old cash. It's completely anonymous, totally private, but it's also risky to carry around, and you've got zero proof of payment if anything goes wrong.
So that brings us to the big question. Do we really have to pick one or the other? Is there some way to get that incredible, untraceable privacy of cash, but with all the digital convenience and security we get from a bank? Well, this is the exact problem that a brilliant cryptographer named David Chaum set out to solve way back in 1982.
Now here's what's so cool about this. To explain his incredibly complex cryptographic solution, Chaum didn't start with a bunch of crazy math equations. Nope, he used a surprisingly simple, almost old-fashioned analogy that absolutely anyone can wrap their head around.
Just imagine you're voting in a secret ballot election. You want two things that sound like they completely contradict each other. One, you need your vote to be totally secret, right? The election officials shouldn't know who you voted for. But two, you also need absolute proof from those same officials that your specific vote was officially counted. So how on earth do you do that?
Okay, this is where the genius comes in. First, you put your secret ballot inside a special envelope, one that's lined with carbon paper. Then, you hand that sealed envelope to the election trustee. They can't see what's inside, but they sign the outside of the envelope. Now, because of that carbon paper, their signature transfers right through the envelope onto your ballot slip inside. And finally, you take that ballot, now signed, and you anonymously drop it in the ballot box.
So here's the magic. When it's time to count the votes, the trustee looks at all these anonymous ballots. They can confirm that each one has their own valid signature on it. They know for a fact they authorized it. But, and this is the whole point, because they only ever sign the outside of the envelope, they have absolutely no way to link a specific voter to a specific ballot. That connection is completely and totally broken.
So how in the world do we take this clever little paper and envelope trick and make it work in the digital world? Well, the principles are exactly the same. We just swap out the carbon paper for some cryptographic magic.
First step is a step called blinding. You, the user, create a digital banknote. But before you send it to the bank, you mix it with a secret random number that only you know. This is your digital carbon-lined envelope. It totally scrambles the note's identity. It's still a valid request for money, but the bank has no idea what its unique serial number is. It's blinded.
Okay, next is signing. The bank gets this blinded, unreadable digital note. It can't see the specific details, but it knows it's a valid request for, let's say, $10. So the bank uses its own powerful private digital key to sign that scrambled data and sends it back to you. This is exactly like the trustee signing the outside of the envelope.
And finally, we have unblinding. You get this signed but still scrambled note back from the bank. And since you're the only one who knows that secret random number you used to blind it in the first place, you can mathematically remove it. And what's left behind? Your original digital banknote, but now it has the bank's unbreakable digital signature attached to it. It's now a totally valid, spendable piece of digital cash that the bank itself authorized but can no longer recognize.
All right, so now we've got this awesome, untraceable, bank-signed digital note. How do we actually use it? How do you buy something without leaving a trail for anyone to follow?
Let's walk through the whole thing. So steps 1, 2, and 3 are what we just did. You blind a note, the bank signs it, you unblind it. Now for step 4, you, the payer, give that anonymous signed note to a merchant. Step 5, the merchant, the payee, sends that note over to their bank. And finally, step 6, the bank sees the note, verifies that, yep, that's its own signature, checks its database to make sure this specific note hasn't been spent before, and then credits the merchant's account. And here is the key. The bank has zero ability to connect your initial withdrawal to the merchant's final deposit. They're two totally separate events in its system. So what this gives us is, truly, the best of both worlds. It's completely anonymous because the blinding process breaks the link between you and the merchant. It's incredibly secure because nothing works without the bank's powerful digital signature. And it's unforgeable because the bank has a system to make sure that each unique digital note can only ever be spent one time.
So let's just take a step back and think about why this idea, something conceived over 40 years ago, is maybe more important today than it has ever been. This wasn't just some clever little crypto puzzle. It was a completely new way of thinking about privacy in our digital lives.
You know, in his original paper, Chaum talked about creating a system for untraceable payments that was, in his own words, superior to any existing systems. He wasn't just trying to make a digital copy of cash. He was trying to build something fundamentally better, something that blended total privacy with all the power of digital tech.
And what's so critical to understand here is that this isn't about creating some lawless, Wild West payment system. It's about personal privacy. You can actually have a system where individual transactions are anonymous to the bank, but because everything is still digitally signed and accounted for, merchants can have auditable trails, you can get proof of payment for refunds, and businesses can still keep clean books for taxes. It's security without surveillance.
And that really leaves us with a huge question for our world today. As more and more of our lives, what we buy, where we go, who we talk to, are being tracked, logged, and analyzed, what is the real value of having a space for financial transactions that are truly, genuinely private? David Chaum gave us a potential blueprint 4 decades ago, and it's a question we're still grappling with more than ever.